These are the 10 biggest lessons on my journey to 20K a month. My name's Emma, and in my first year in high ticket sales, I collected over 7 figures in cash. I had an average of a 50% and higher close rate for some of the biggest offers and biggest names in the space, including Bill Walsh's Objection Box and Alex Hormozi's portfolio company. These 10 lessons that I'm gonna walk you guys through, if I had known them earlier, I would have made 20K way earlier on in my closing career. So let me save you the pain that I had to go through and the $35,000 that I invested in my sales training to learn these core lessons. Number 1 is fear means go. When I was in the beginning of my career as a sales rep, I had so much uncertainty and I had so much fear. I didn't want to lose the deals. I didn't want to lose the offers. I was really scared to make a fool of myself. And even role playing inside of sales groups caused me so much anxiety. I would hide like a wallflower. And it took me a while to realize that this fear was always going to be there, but my relationship with it was going to determine how far I went. And so I had this moment about a month in where I said, you know what? On every single coaching call I do, I am going to raise my hand. I'm going to be the first person to ask a question. I'm going to be the first person to ask a role play. And for the first 3 sessions, I actually thought I was going to die. And then 30 days later, I'd survived. And in that moment, I showed myself that I was like, oh, I'm capable of this. I'm capable of moving and going after my goals, even though I feel this fear. It was the same thing, my first B2B offer. I was like, can I do this? Like, do I have enough skill set? Am I good enough? And I had this fear and I had this anxiety. And it was only by actually stepping through that I proved to myself I am capable. So the big lesson here is that fear means to go. But the reason that we don't is literally just the way our brains are wired. Our brains are wired to keep us safe, even if safe isn't actually what's best for us. So what is comfortable for you guys right now could be an offer where you're making 3 to 5K on, right? You want to be making 10K. You want to be making 20K. You want to be, making 40 or 50K. You have to step into the unfamiliar, and there's always going to be fear anytime you do that. Number 2. Is your skill set means nothing without state. Now, this is by far the hardest lesson that I had to learn as a closer. I became a very skilled closer because I was putting the reps in and I was studying, I was reviewing sales calls, and I had the highest closer on my team. For an entire month, I closed at 90% higher than any other closer, even my sales manager. But the problem was my state was in such a place of like fear and anxiety. And I would lose, if I lost even just one call, I would spiral. I would think, oh, I'm just getting lucky on my calls. Like, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I don't have the skills. And I'd freak out and I'd panic and I'd book a 1-to-1. What I came to realize is that this was the very thing that was holding me back from making 20K. I was making consistently 5 to 7 at that point, but I really wasn't able to get to 20K a month until I dialed in my state and I actually learned about the map of consciousness and how important this is. And that's why I say to all closers now that you can genuinely be the best closer. You can have all the skills, you can know all the reframes off the back of your hand. But your state enters the room first, and the prospects are going to go off of your state rather than your words. Number 3 is your skill set is going to yield more of an ROI than any other investment you have. Anything more than the stocks, anything like this. And I remember last year because I invested very heavily into my sales training and everyone thought I was crazy because I invested again and again. Literally everything I was earning, I just put right back into my development. And I was spending 10K after 10K after 10K. And I just wanted to get as good as I could, as quickly as I could. Because what I knew was that once I learned these skills, no one can take them away from me. And no one ever got better at sales and made less money. And so when I was telling people last year that I was investing 35K, people were like, this is crazy. Like, are you sure? Like, what if it doesn't work out? And fast forward a year later where I'm consistently making 20K and everyone's like, wow, how did you do it? I did it because I just continued to invest in myself and get better and better and better. It would literally be the best ROI that you can ever invest into is your skill set. Number 4 is when it comes to objection handling is in the beginning, I tried to memorize like every talk track under the sun, and I still struggled with my objection handling. I was doing okay. I was closing at 30%, but I knew I was capable of so much more. And really when this changed is when I understood the purpose of objection handling in the first place. And it wasn't just saying some fancy reframe of like, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Instead, it was realizing that you're showing them, you're connecting their why, their reason for being here, the emotions back into the conversation. And you're showing them that the way that they're thinking, right, their current mindset, their actions, their beliefs, their habits is actually the reason why they're on this call today and why they have not achieved their goals. And so the reality is that if they want to achieve their goals, that they are going to have to move through that fear, because there is no certainty, there is no guarantees in this life. The only guarantee is that if we do nothing, nothing changes. And it's the easiest thing to do today, but it is the most expensive thing to do in the long run. Number 5, and this is my favorite because so many girls struggle with this, and this is being nice on your calls and being scared of what a prospect's going to say to you when you challenge them, when you ask them an uncomfortable question, if they react and they blow up. And this used to terrify me, especially when I was speaking to people that had money, or in my eyes, I considered a more sophisticated prospect, to the point that I had a sales coach tell me to hold a rock in my hand with the mantra to be a stone. Because he told me, Emma, only one person can be emotional on this call. And if you're the one that's emotional, you're never going to close the deals. You need to be able to be a leader. And if you ask them a question and they blow up, they get angry, they say, screw you, that has more to do with them than it does with you and the questions you've asked. The reason being, especially when you're challenging people on their limiting beliefs, is the truth is hard. It is extremely hard because for the last however many months or years, this person has bought into the story that they've been telling themselves. They haven't had the time, they haven't had the money. And when you get someone to actually look internally that, oh, I'm the reason I'm in this situation, is that doesn't always sit well with people. And that is okay. But you are doing your prospects a disservice when you want to be nice and you want to be liked because you are scared of how you are going to feel when you challenge them. Because at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with you. And the second you stop focusing on yourself and you actually focus on your prospects and doing the best thing for them is when you are kind. And being kind is what closes deals. Number 6, congruency. The thing that most sales reps in this space lack. You guys want to ask someone to do something scary, and yet when was the last time you did something scary yourself? You want to ask someone to get resourceful, yet you're unwilling to do it yourself. You cannot lead someone until you learn how to lead yourself. And the reason why my beliefs are so strong and I don't buy into other people's BS is because I never bought into mine. When I didn't have the money, I figured it out. I got resourceful. People say, oh, I didn't have the time. I was working full time doing double shifts in a restaurant and I still made it work. The truth is where there's a will, there's a way. And anytime that you blame an external thing is you give that thing power. And the importance for sales reps to be congruent is one of the most important things in sales, is your ability to lead others. And something that I notice is people do the big things, but they can't do the small things right. And if you can't do the small things, this is where your belief in yourself and your trust really cracks. If you say, you know what, tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. 5 a.m., your alarm goes off and you snooze it. No big deal, right? Well, no one knows, but you know. You want to run 10 miles on the treadmill. 9 miles come, your legs are tired, it's hot, it's been a long day, you've worked hard. You stop. No one knows, but you know. And that is the problem. The more you break your word to yourself, the less trust you have in yourself. It is about doing the small things correctly, day in and day out. Number 7. No one is able to change their situation until they learn how to say the 2 most powerful words, and that is my fault. Where you are in your life, in your relationships, your physical health, your financial health, all of that is based on your decisions and actions that have led you up to this point. And let's just make the argument, right, guys, that you're on an offer and you've got really shitty leads. No one's showing up. They're all DQs. Oh, it's the marketing. Oh, it's the leads. What good does that do you? It does you no good, even if it's the truth. The only thing that serves you is taking full accountability and ownership. What's actually funny is I asked ChatGPT, what are the traits that really have allowed me across the board in my life to dominate and be a fucking killer? The number one thing was the fact that I take extreme agency and ownership. When you do that, you will watch your life change. Number 8 is, the world is not fair, guys. And I'm not going to be the first one to tell you this, but no opportunities are just going to be handed to you. You are going to have to knock down doors. You are going to have to be willing to go the extra mile. And what's funny is that in the beginning of my closing career, I really struggled for the first little bit to land a role. And I was applying every single day. I was creating custom Loom videos. I was in the trainings. I was doing everything within my capability. And one day I saw an offer. It got sent to me on Instagram, actually, an SDR role. I just want you guys to know, this wasn't even a closing role. This was an SDR role, but I wanted to be in the game so fucking badly. At this point, I was willing to do anything, and I mean anything. So I printed out my resume. I booked a plane ticket. I flew to Vegas from Vancouver 2 days later. I was in Vegas for 24 hours to go to the headquarters and drop my resume off. And this is what's so funny to me is reps say, I've been trying all this stuff. And when you actually ask them, okay, well, what effort have you put in? It's like, I sent out 2 or 3 Loom videos. Is that effort a reflection of what you actually want to achieve? For example, there was a role I landed later in 2025. It was a very solid offer. And the sales manager was really testing me out. We had a great interview. I jumped through quite a few hoops. And he wanted to see how badly I wanted it. And I messaged this guy, I kid you not, 10 times across 10 different, not 10 different platforms, 10 times across 3 different platforms. And he finally responded and he was like, yeah, I do this to all the closers just to see who really wants it. The person that wins is always going to be the person that's willing to go above and beyond. Don't expect to do the bare minimum and earn like the 1%, especially in the beginning when you were earning your stripes, is you have to be willing to eat some dirt. You have to be willing to put grit between your teeth. When I got in and I got one of my first roles is I was doing a full cycle role. So I was doing cold calling, I was doing triaging, I was closing all the calls as well. I had more outbound dials than the entire team together. They could not compete. The entire team, the 3 other closers or the 3 other people that were doing full cycle as well, could not compete because that's all I did. I was obsessed. An obsession is what it takes to truly win in sales. Number 9, you are never going to feel ready. Let me just tell you this, that every time you guys go onto a new offer, you get into the space, anytime you do anything new, is you're never going to feel 100% ready for this. And I seriously wish that I had learned this earlier because I was just like, if I just felt a little bit more ready, if I just knew a little bit more about the offer, if I just studied my objection handling, I'm not going to feel this anxiousness. I was trying to get rid of this feeling. But the truth is that feeling was always going to be there because no matter how much studying I did, no matter how much I reviewed sales calls, you're going to learn the most when you actually get in the ring and get punched in the face. So that is my biggest advice to sales reps now. is in the beginning is get thrown in the deep end. Yes, you're going to make some mistakes. Yes, you're going to feel like you don't know what you're doing, but that is how you are meant to feel. Remember that is in the beginning, you are meant to feel like you don't know what you're doing, and that is okay. You are meant to be a beginner. The first time that you guys drove your car, everyone has two hands on the steering wheel. We're looking all around, we're doing all the things. Come 3 months in, you're driving with one knee, you're doing your mascara, you're eating food, you're calling your boyfriend, whatever. And it's the same thing in sales as in the beginning. You're so stressed out and you're checking everything and you're feeling all nervous. 6 months down the line, you're hopping on the call and it's a completely different feeling. You're like, oh, let me guess what objection is going to be this time, because you hear it like this. But that comes through time, guys. And the more that you guys beat yourself up for not being where you want, doesn't make it any easier. You still have to do the reps. Give yourself grace and understand that this is how I'm meant to feel. And number 10 is take it day by day, close by close. Oftentimes, when we set very big, ambitious goals, is we overwhelm ourselves. Because we look at the mountain and we go, how the heck are we going to get there? This seems so far away. Can I do this? Is it possible? I don't even know. And we almost get stuck. We almost can't move because of this anxiety that we've created. My goal, I knew I wanted to hit big numbers in sales. But what I focused on was what was the next call in front of me? What do I need to do today? What is the one needle moving activity to get me closer to my goals? And it's the same thing when I run. When I run, I can run a marathon, right? So anywhere from about 4 to 5 hours. That's a very long distance. In my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm about to go run this distance. And it seems like I can't do it in the beginning. And what I do is I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to run a kilometer. I'm just going to run 5 more minutes. And what happens when you do that is 5 minutes go by, 2 kilometers go by, 10 kilometers go by, 20. Next thing you know, you're at the finish flag. You're at your goal. And it is the same thing. When you do the right inputs day by day, and you do them, and you just consistently show up, it becomes inevitable that you guys will reach your goal. If you do not quit, you will win. It's not an if, it simply becomes when. And I can't tell you when that point is. I wish. Trust me, if I could read into the future, I'd be a hell of a lot richer now. But I cannot. What I can say is that whether it takes you 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 10 years, if you keep showing up, you keep knocking on doors, you keep working hard, you will get there. And that is not just for sales, that is for anything that you want to achieve in your life. Alrighty, guys, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video. These are the 10 biggest lessons on my journey to 20K a month. My name's Emma, and in my first year in high ticket sales, I collected over 7 figures in cash. I had an average of a 50% and higher close rate for some of the biggest offers and biggest names in the space, including Bill Walsh's Objection Box and Alex Hormozi's portfolio company.